might say that's a pretty good situation facing those teams. I mean, the Braves have some pretty good pitching. The White Sox have pretty good pitching, but I think it's a tale of the bullpen. The Astros bullpen has not been so good recently. We're going to talk about that recently, but they end the road trip on a positive note as Jose Urquidy pitches a gem and the Astros are able to hold the Sunday victory. So we'll talk about this and more on this edition of the Locked On Astros podcast.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Astros, your daily Astros podcast. Here are your hosts, Eric the Man Huysman and Brett H-Town Wheelhouse Chancey.
We are Locked On Houston Astros, and we hope that you join us for a daily Locked On Astros podcast. My name is Eric Huysman. You can find me on Twitter at Eric Talk Stros. Find the show at Locked On Astros, your team every day. Brett, where can I find you at?
They can find me at H-Town Wheelhouse on Twitter and Instagram, and at Stros411 on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Always positive, always Stros.
All right, so the Astros are having one of their better Augusts in a while. We're going to talk about that a little bit later, and definitely the last 7 days have been kind of rocky. Saturday was one of those games that you're like, come on, can't just get the win already. But unfortunately, the bullpen couldn't get it done. But it was a great game to watch. I mean, Christian Javier and Snyder were just like lighting up everything. It was just a great game to watch. And Friday's game was not quite as good to watch, but there's also some injury news that we have to address. Definitely what happened to Alvarez, and then Altuve. All of a sudden, he's dealing with a sore shoulder. Shoulder. I can't talk right now, but definitely that's something we'll have to address. And then we have a new guy coming up from AAA. We'll have to talk about him as more. Thank you for making Locked On Astros podcast your first listen every day. Whether it's on YouTube, keep on subscribing, keep on giving us a like while you're there, and go ahead and listen to us on Apple, Odyssey, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcasts. Check out the Locked On Astros podcast and make us your first listen. So, Brett, before we start looking at all the bullpen numbers, what a game for Urquidy. What he did was he was not only matching Charlie Morton like pitch by pitch. He wasn't really striking out the hitters like Morton was, but he actually outlasted Morton and basically just pitched better. And I think that Urquidy, I know a lot of us were kind of down on him earlier in the season, but he showed that he is who the Astros need to be in the rotation. He's the big game pitcher. He is the guy that the Astros need in October.
Yeah, Jose Urquidy is the only Astros pitcher who has a 3-0 record against the Atlanta Braves, and that is special. And those wins are most of them in the World Series. And you know what I'm saying? This guy's played the Braves. He's done well. I think when the World Series comes around, if the Astros are facing the Braves, you can look at Jose Urquidy playing a major role in that. And there have been some missed opportunities. You have numbers on the bullpen, and we'll discuss that. But in this game today, since we're focusing on Sunday, if you're listening on Monday, it was good that they got the hits where they needed it. You know, Altuve was out. Mauricio Dubon did an admirable job leading off, got a couple hits, was responsible for a couple runs. Without those 2 runs, the Astros lose 4-3. So Dubon contributed. You were 7, 8, and 9 guys in the last couple games have been contributing. So that's a good thing. That's a good sign. And this team, though, going forward, there are just a lot of things that I wonder. Like, doesn't Trey Mancini deserve every day at bats? I want to explore that this week. I really think his bat is better than Dubon, McCormick, and Myers, and I think he should be getting more playing time than those 3, to be quite honest. Of course, the question then comes, where do you put him and all that stuff? We won't really dive into that tonight, but this week we're going to talk about that because I think Mancini deserves more at bats. Jose Urquidy, though, today, the gem on the mound, this guy was laser focused. Even when he got into trouble, even when he gave up the home run, he stayed in it. And he said after the game, Eric, that it was his job to go as many innings as he could because he was trying to help his bullpen and save his bullpen, and he did just that.
Yeah, definitely. And after giving up, I think he threw like almost 30 pitches in the first inning, and then he kind of settled down and didn't throw more than 16 pitches in any of the other innings. And he allowed himself to go 7 innings, and he actually saved the Astros bullpen by them having a 6-man rotation. They're limiting themselves in the bullpen, and we're going to talk about what that's doing to the Astros bullpen as a whole, because it's hurting them. And we're going to talk about some of the numbers in a second that it's got to come back to the mean, because the numbers are not, they're kind of skyrocketing. And a lot of people can say, well, the Astros bullpen sucks. We need to not trade, but we need to demote everybody and bring up Hunter Brown and bring up Forrest Whitley had a good game. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But
Oh, no.
I think the Astros are doing a lot of bad luck at the moment. And it's just like everything that's possibly could happen has been happening recently. But what Urquidy did today was just great. He ate up 7 innings, and that allowed them to only use Montero and then Presley in this game. And then Presley, I know that he gave up those 2 runs, but he still pitched well enough to get those final the 3 outs. And that's what the Astros couldn't do on Saturday night. Just get those last few outs, because they had the lead 2 times in extra innings, and it's just so frustrating. Like, okay, the Astros are going to win. They just got the lead, and boom.
Yeah, in that extra inning game, they really should have scratched across 5 or 6 runs. They should have only scored 2 runs in that inning. So the offense let the pitching down then, and you can't minimize what the bullpen has. And I know you've got those numbers that really support a changing in the trend of the Astros have been all year. I mean, ranking for their starting pitchers, they're like first in wins, they're first in ERA, they're top 4 in strikeouts. Then when they get to the bullpen has really been stellar. Hector Neris has pitched 50 innings. You have, Presley hasn't even gone 40 innings this year, but you
I
have
think 3 of them have
Montero.
actually, yeah.
Right. Well, that's what we're getting to. You have Montero, you have Matan, Neris. They've all gone 40 plus. Montero's gone the most at 50. And then maybe after today, that number went up. But last I looked at it, you had 3 or 4 pitchers that have gone 40 plus innings. And there was a routine early on in the season, Eric, where we knew Stanek would come in here, Montero would come in here. And because of the litany of games, I think because of the amount of games they've had to play back to back to back without rest, it kind of disrupted that carousel where you have the luxury of the 6 starters now. You still have the same relief pitchers, right? And with Seth Martinez down, I think that hurts the bullpen. And you don't know when and where these guys are going to come in at. And Montero, 2 of his last 3 outings have been really terrible. And today, he did his job. He did what he was supposed to do.
Yeah. And we're going to get to all the big and stuff. Like, we're going to go in deep dive into Astros bullpen in a second. But I do want to kind of say what the Astros bullpen did against the Braves and White Sox. They posted a 7.16 ERA. They had basically in August, they had a 4.33 ERA in 52 August innings, and they had a 4.16 ERA since the All-Star break. So basically, only 9 teams had a ERA higher in the second half. So the Astros ERA for the bullpen was consistently one of the best in baseball. Now they're tied with the Yankees with a 3.01 ERA. So they're kind of coming back to the pack a little bit, but they're still one of the better bullpens in baseball. So it's not time to freak out a lot, but it is time to be a little bit concerned about what's going on. We're seeing some bad trends, but at the same time, the analytics can give us an answer to what's going on. And I bet we can maybe kind of see what's maybe the trend will kind of be trending down. So let's talk about Bet Online.
Yeah, so Bet Online is the place to get all the fastest and easiest. I mean, all the latest news, all the latest lines, the odds, whatever you need. Find reviews and news. Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, esports, even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all your sports wagering information, from live in-game betting and scores and podcasts. They have you covered. Head to BetOnline today or use your mobile device to learn more about the action happening today. Will the Astros go to another World Series? Will Yordan Alvarez eclipse 45 or 50 home runs? Will Justin Verlander win the Cy Young? Will the Houston Texans win more than 5 games this season? If you want to know and you want to make those bets, go to BetOnline. It's where the game starts.
I know that Brett and I, we actually went and watched Saturday's game at Hooters, and we were there the entire day. We camped, and it was great. I had some of the 3 Mile Island wings, and it was just a great all around experience. Brett had his honey chipotle wings, and it's just a great atmosphere. You had the world famous Hooter girls, and we just got to watch the UFC fight, and we got to watch the Astros play the Braves. And unfortunately, the outcome wasn't what we wanted, but that doesn't take away from the experience. So come out and enjoy some great food, some great brew, and the world famous Hooter girls. So come enjoy happy hour, or should we say happy hour specials, Monday through Friday, 3 to 6. So many drink specials. Don't forget Thursday with drink specials all day. Come hang out where they Locked On Astros boys like to hang out and watch the Astros with great grub and brews. Ask them where their featured beers are untapped, and tell them boys that Locked On Astros sent you. In fact, if you tell them that we sent you, you get a free appetizer of fried pickles. And we actually had somebody say, we want Locked On Astros sent us, and they got some pickles, and we walked over and say, hey, we're the Locked On Astros guys, and they're like, oh, cool. So that was pretty cool. So 2796 Gulf Freeway, go check them out, and maybe we'll be there too.
Oh yeah, definitely. We had a good time watching the game there. It was great. We saw Rosie; she's there. Also they're taking a trip October 2nd. It's a bus trip, and it is $115. They still have around 15 or 18 seats left on the bus. You get wings before you leave. You get drinks. They have dollar shots, I believe, or some great deal on that. They drive you to the game. They put you back on the bus. They feed you after the game, and it's a great time. I don't know where that fits in our school schedules, but if we're, if I'm able to go on that trip, I definitely will. But you definitely need to take the opportunity. We're up there, I think on a weekly basis, Eric, just hanging out with them with the great service. People keep wanting to know, keep talking about the bullpen, Eric, and you kind of crunched some numbers, and you talked about where they were versus where they are, and I don't think there's too much to be alarmed about if they get it together by October. Playing baseball in August and playing baseball in October are two different things. It's August, you have September to work out the kinks, but I think some of it has to do with the usage. Even though our starting pitchers have the highest innings per start of any major league team, we've still used our relief pitchers.
Right. And this is not including today's game because Fangraphs does not update right away. And I know Chandler Rome, he has the actual updated one. He said the Astros relievers entered Sunday's game, allowing a 344 batting average on balls in play since the All-Star break. Only the Red Sox have a higher mark. The league average is 290. But what I did was I did it the past 7 days and the past 14 days. So if you look at the past 7 days, the Astros are 0-3 with a 7.27 ERA. Their FIP is 4.57. Their expected FIP is 4.92. And their BABIP, which is their batting average on balls in play, is 4.63. That is way above their season BABIP of 283. So the average Major League Baseball player team pitcher is 300. So they are way up here. So they're what's happening is just they've got to regress back to the mean. So if you're looking at what's going on in the last 14 days, they're 0-4 with a 5.60 ERA. and they have a 3.41 FIP, and their expected FIP is 3.83, and their BABIP is 459. So if you're looking at those numbers, they've got to regress. So what that means is that some of these batting average, these balls that are not supposed to be dropping, are dropping, like that Denard hit the other day, and some of these things that have a low expecting batting average are falling. And so you can call it bad luck. You can call it the fact that the Astros are walking too many, the relievers are walking too many batters, and then they're coming in, something like that. But
It's the
something,
walks.
yeah,
It's the leadoff walks, and when you get runners on base, you can make things happen. After a runner gets on base, all you have to do is put the ball in play. Someone on here said baseball is 60% luck, just any given day, and that's correct.
right,
Because if a ball has an expected batting average of 120, the chances are that's going to be caught. It's going to be an out. But those are
right,
the balls that went through, and just so people know what FIP is. Okay, it focuses solely on events the pitcher has the most control over: strikeouts, unintentional walks, hit by pitch, and basically it's fielding independent pitching. Okay,
right,
so I just want everybody to know, because some people might not know what FIP is. They might
right,
hear that and go, "FIP, is that like a bad word?" Well, if your FIP is too high, it
right,
can be. But and that's why you're bringing it up. And one of the things Chandler Rome also brought up is that these relievers are only second or tied for second, I believe, with New York with relief like ERA overall, like 3.01.
right.
And that's pretty stinking good. I know ERA is not the end all be all for pitching, for judging pitchers and their effectiveness, whatever. But for the most part, even with our concerns with the bullpen or how it's been used, it's actually been managed quite well. And that's why they got the best record in the American League. We can't forget that.
Yeah, but it's kind of gone down a little bit recently. They were number one, now they're number two, or they're tied with number one. So, for this season, this is not updated. They had a 2.97 ERA. Their FIP was 3.27. So it was pretty close to being what it was expected to be. So what I'm trying to say is that the what they're doing and what they're expected to be doing is so way off. So I think it's just they're going through a bad rut right now. Maybe they're being overused or something. I know you can't. People are be like, Eric, you're making excuses right now, but the Astros have only what? How many people in the bullpen right now? One. They have 8 people in the bullpen right now. You don't have the extra arm because of the 6-man rotation. If you look at it, this is not including the today's game. So Presley on here has a 0 ERA, but Neris in the past 14 day has a 2.57 ERA. Brian Abreu is the only one that hasn't given up anything in his past 14 days. Matan has a 19.64 ERA. Seth Martinez has an 18 ERA. Then Will Smith has a 5.79 ERA. Then
No, wait,
Stanek has a
hold on.
2.25 ERA. And then Rafael Montero has a 9.53 ERA. What?
Okay, so is that over how many
I believe
like
that's 14 days. Last
okay,
14
so
days.
that's
Yes.
the last 14 days or their last 14 games? The last 14
Last
days.
14 days. Yeah.
That okay. So now an ERA in that short of a time is somewhat conflated, somewhat
I know.
kind of a small sample size, but that's where we are now. It's like, what are you doing for me lately? And so that's why we're looking at that right
Right.
now. The overall body of work, I believe, is excellent, and
Right.
um, I do still at times wonder. Like, I wondered why he brought Montero in today. Now Montero got the job done, but if you look at Montero, Stanek, and Matan, I'm sorry, look at Stanek and Mary's, they had 11 or 15 innings pitched, or 11 or 15 pitches pitched the night before.
Right.
And Montero had like 23 or 24 pitches. And I thought it was odd. And I asked a question on Twitter, why would you put Montero in? He pitched twice as many pitches as the other two. It's a day game. That was sort of a question.
Right.
When Dusty says some things, it just makes you question his judgment. I don't question his intelligence as a baseball manager. I just question his reasoning or why they do things.
Right.
And that's what gives people pause. And I think that's what frustrates people because there are some things that you can be critical of, and there's nothing wrong with that. But at the same time, it's not that bad. This was the
Right.
Braves, Eric. These were Darno said after his walk-off, this is a playoff atmosphere. The
Right.
crowd was into it. He said both teams are good. We both have the same goal. We want to win. And the Astros didn't get their butts handed to them. They actually played admirably, even though the bullpen gave up these games. They still played with them the whole time.
Right. So if you're looking at Maton's ERA for the last 14 days, it's 19.664. His FIP was 3.67. So that's a big difference. So, and if you're looking at his walks for the past 14 days, he's doing 9.82 per 9 innings. And then Seth Martinez had 9 per 9 innings. Then you had Stanek with 15.75 per 9 innings. Then you have Rafael Montero with 7.94 per 9 innings. So that just shows that they're walking way too many batters. And then if you look at Maton, he has a 667 BABIP. Then Seth Martinez had 1,000 BABIP. Then Will Smith has a 429 BABIP. Ryan Stanek has a 583 BABIP. Montero has a 444 BABIP. That shows why the BABIP's so high right now. It's just the Astros can't get anybody out right now. So,
Yeah, no, but that's going to happen, Eric. I mean, let's look at the lineup that we're facing. We're facing one of the better lineups in the National League. And I'll
right.
tell you right now, I hope that my prediction of the Astros and the Mets in the World Series is absolutely accurate, because as it stands, I would much rather the Astros face the Mets than the Braves. The Braves seem to have something on us that other teams don't. And gosh darn it, if it rains another game that we play them ever again and we don't get batting practice, I'm going to cry foul. That is just absolutely absurd. But a kind of a funny thing that happened. Did you hear the way that the Braves audio crew was trolling the Astros? Did you hear what they played during? So when Jake Myers walked up, they played the Oscar Mayer Wiener song.
No, I did not
My
see that.
baloney has a first name. It's Oscar. Yes, they played the Oscar Mayer Wiener song when he came up. They were playing something from the Doobie Brothers when Mauricio Dubon got up. I mean, they had songs for each player, and which was absolutely, I think, genius. And they did the Will Smith tribute video during the second inning, and they played the clip of him facing the Astros and beating them to win the World Series, like right in the middle of the game. So, you know what? One thing I got to hand to Atlanta, whoever runs their PR department, whoever runs the show for the game, top notch. Man, we need to get on it like that. And I think our stadium does that sometimes. You know, I've seen us troll pictures here and there, but that was like, bro, like this is serious. I'm so glad we didn't get swept today.
Yeah, definitely. And the series overall was very enjoyable. That wasn't enjoyable, I'd say, was Friday. I don't think McCullers had his best game, but then I believe Maton came in and gave up some runs as well. But the Astros, their offense seems to be coming alive a little bit, definitely in Saturday and Sunday's game. Just wasn't enough with the bullpen. Just they just can't get a lot of swings and misses recently, and let's just keep on whatever. So definitely in the next podcast, we're going to go deeper into the matchups with the Twins. But hey, Carlos Correa is coming to town, and he's bringing the Twins. And I was looking at the matchups earlier, and basically the quality starts. In terms of quality starts, the Astros have 72 quality starts on the season. I don't think that's even including Urquidy's 73. But the Twins only have like 20 something. I closed that tab already, but that's just crazy how the Astros are they're leading league in quality starts, and the Astros just have this dynamic rotation. They do have this good bullpen that's been dominant for the most part all year. It's just they've hit this little patch in the road where they're struggling. They even struggled today.
Yeah, they did, but again, they're struggling against a good team. They're not struggling against bottom feeders. So let's look at this. 2017, the Astros in all of August went 11-17. 2018, they went 14-12. 2019, they went 19-9. 2020, they went 15-11. 2021, 14-13. Right now, they're 11-9 in August. They have a chance to have the second or third best record they've ever had in August. And everybody's like, oh, this is August. This is the time we slump. Those don't look like slumping numbers. They look like a little bit better than 500 numbers, except for one of those years. So the Astros come home and they've got Carlos Correa that they're facing. I mean, there's going to be a tribute video. And you know what I want to see? They won't do it. But you know what I want to see? I want to see them play the clip where he's like talking to Cody Bellinger saying, if you don't know the facts, you need to shut the F up. I really, really wish they would play that. I don't think they will, but that would get the loudest ovation. And I think like the fans would go absolutely nuts if they did that.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to want to pump Carlos Correa up too much because he is on
Oh,
the other team after all.
Eric,
So
Eric, they pumped up Toro. They gave Toro a 45-second video. He did one thing as an Astro. They're going to pump up. They pumped up Charlie, when he left. They pumped up George Springer when he came back. Dude, they're going to pump him
I
up.
know,
I mean, they're going to get, Carlos is one and done in Minnesota anyways.
right?
Minnesota's, you know what? Look, I'm coming off the
He-
Minnesota as a sleeper thing because they can't get their stuff together.
Right. And by the way, guess who's back for 23? Martin Maldonado. He will be back as your starting catcher for the next
I
season
told y'all.
as his vesting option kicked in after he played the game Sunday, meaning he played 90 games in 2022. His $4.5 million club option has kicked in. So basically, he'll be the starter next year unless there's some miracle where either Corey Lee or you have Yainer Diaz come in and take over the job. But I think that Martin Maldonado will be your starting catcher, and one of the
I
other young guys will be the backup guys.
I think it's going to flip it sometime during the year. I don't think they're going to use Maldi as much next year because you've got to get your next guy in line. You can't play Maldonado all next season and not prepare your next catcher in line. That just wouldn't be right for that catcher. There's going to be more
Right.
of a 50-50 split. You're not going to see Christian Vasquez back, I don't think. I think
He wants a
Mancini's more
full-time
likely.
gig. Yeah.
Well, I think
Yeah.
Mancini is more likely than
Right.
Christian Vasquez, but Eric, I told everybody they're going to do that vesting option. They fully intended on doing that with Maldonado. I don't have a problem with it. But my question is this: now that Maldi has his 90 games, are they going to feel more freedom to be able to start Christian Vasquez? Because I did question why they didn't pinch hit Christian Vasquez when you had Martin Maldonado up. In the ninth inning, why didn't you put in Christian Vasquez? He is your best hitting option. That should be the case. If that happens in the playoffs and they let Martin hit and he strikes out, Dusty, the managers, everybody is going to hear about it because Vasquez should be hitting in those spots.
I doubt that they're concerned about making sure Maldonado has that option picked up. And I'm pretty sure in the remaining games, he was going to get those last 13 games that he needed to reach 90. So
What? That's exactly what I said.
yeah, I know.
They were making sure he got that because they had full intentions of paying him for next year. There was no their goal is to get him
Right.
90. What I'm saying is I'm wondering if now that he's there, are they going to give Christian Vasquez more catching opportunities?
No.
But why not? That's dumb. Why is he on your team? If he's not playing, if you got Mancini, why isn't he playing every day? Why isn't Christian Vasquez playing a majority of the games? It's really honestly frustrating because why in the heck would you trade for guys that you're not going to play? You're totally wasting Mancini's bat. Mancini deserves more at bats than McCormick, than Myers, and Dubon. I don't care what anybody says. His bat deserves to be on the field. Bottom line. And I don't get it. And I hope in September that changes. I hope it does because those guys deserve to play. Mancini will never get in a groove. Mancini will never get hot. And he is not batting super great outside of his home runs with the Astros. And it's probably because he's not playing every day. They better figure that out.
Well, he played 2 out of 3 games versus the Braves, so you got to
Okay,
give that.
Eric. But okay, come on, Eric. But honestly, dude, are you sleeping under a rock? Eric, he is not playing as much as he should be. Be honest with me.
But
Do you think he
with
needs to play
Diaz
more?
out, I think he's going to be playing a lot more. So
See,
yeah,
but even with, I don't know. These are things I don't understand. These are things that fans talk about. These are things that people want to know. Okay.
right,
And like today, when we need to talk about Jose Altuve's shoulder, and
yeah.
Dusty Baker said, I don't know which one it is. Like, he can't be Eric. He's either joking or the club's not letting you know if it's his throwing shoulder or his opposite, throwing hand shoulder. All right. Like maybe they're just being secretive. But there's no way, Eric, a major league manager doesn't know his all-star Hall of Fame, future Hall of Fame second baseman, third best Astros player in franchise history. There's no way this side of heaven that he doesn't know what shoulder's hurting. Do you believe that, Eric? Be honest with me.
I think it's just more like the Astros like to be secretive. They don't like to let
Okay.
other teams know. It's a competitive advantage thing, and they take it seriously. I think that under the Luno administration, I think that they let things out a little bit more. But we always hear the term discomfort and that type of stuff. So I think it's either two things: he really doesn't know, or they just don't want people to know how bad it is. And so
This is
this goes back to the Michael Brantley thing and the Jason Castro thing, right around the trade deadline when they're trying to make the
true.
trade for Mancini and all that. We didn't know about and Vasquez. We didn't know about Jason Castro about to have surgery, and then they kept on saying we don't know what the timetable is for Michael Brantley return. Why? Because other teams would be like, "Hey, you're really desperate. Your backup catcher is done for a year. You don't know your left fielder is done for a year, so you desperately need this guy." So by kind of keeping the other team in the dark, you kind of have that leverage a little bit. So, but I don't think that Altuve's is a big thing. I just think that this is something that he's been playing with for a while. So I don't think this is a big thing. I know that Dusty Baker said he didn't move around well last night, and Mauricio Dubon is now the backup infielder at every position. So the Astros did make a good decision. Why have another first baseman in JJ Matijevic, and who could maybe play left field? So they brought up David Hensley, and that was probably a good move for him. He plays some first base. I believe he can play some third base. He can play some left field, play some other positions. But he slashed 298, 430, 478, and 464 plate appearances with the Sugarland Space Cowboys this year. And he was kind of one of those guys that they took in the 26th round. He's 6'6", and this is a guy that Dusty Baker liked during spring training. Remember when he reported while all the players were still trying to work out a deal. So this is one of the guys that Dusty Baker really liked. And so he said it was kind of surreal, pretty cool to walk out into the stadium and the sellout crowd. And you'd never expect it, but there is some anticipation here. When I saw his name on my phone in the morning talking about the manager, I couldn't think it was something bad or something good, but it was something
Mm.
really good, saying that he got the call to big leagues. So I think this guy is probably going to be somebody who's going to be in the cards for the 2023 season for sure, because I don't think Aledmys Diaz, especially with his injury history, will be back next year. He's played more second base and first base in
Here,
professional ball. Good.
are you talking about David Hensley?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
David Hensley, in his last month, he's played second base and shortstop for majority. He played a little bit of third. If you go all the way back to July, he played left field, first base, third base, shortstop, first base. Um, he just now started playing a lot more second base. He was playing second base before he came down a lot. But dude, this guy's played all over the field. If you go look at Baseball Reference, you can see where he played each game this year, and he's played a lot all over the place. So he is a perfect fit, I think, for this team and for their needs and the concerns they have. Hopefully Altuve is just like a day-to-day thing, but with Diaz out, like you said, I think sometimes needing to give Jerry Pena a rest or whatever, he can play all over the field. He's a big guy. He can hit. He's a good team guy. I've seen him play many games, and I'm really pleased with the call up.
I believe that James Click came out and said that they're not sure how long Diaz. I think they said it could be weeks before Diaz is ready to come back, and so they needed somebody with a little bit more flexibility than JJ Majevic had. So I think that this was a good move. He is so definitely. But the bad thing is they had a DFA, Jonathan Bermudez. He's somebody that was the formerly Astros minor league pitcher of the year. So hopefully he'll clear through waivers and the Astros will be able to just re-add him. So they just needed him off the 40-man roster so they can add David Hensley to the roster. So that was just a move just for just a situation. So Forrest Whitley pitched tonight, 5 innings, 3 hits, 1 run, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts. He was the fastest he threw was 97.6 miles per hour. He averaged 95.8. His changeup was really good, inducing 4 of the 5 strikeouts. So Forrest Whitley looks like he's fully recovered. I don't know if he'll be ready for this season, but it's looking positive. So in the future, we could have Hunter Brown and Forrest Whitley, finally, Forrest Whitley in the plans for the Houston Astros. You're muted.
Thank you. I guess we will see next year. Forrest Whitley, don't get any delusions of grandeur. Forrest Whitley fans, he won't be up for the playoffs. Right now he's still on the tarmac. Like, he hasn't even taken off yet. So he's going to need some work. He's going to need a very, very solid spring training. He's going to need to do a lot of convincing. And if he does, and he does turn it around, what a story that will be. And I know there's a lot of people who have written him off, but the person who hasn't written him off, most importantly, is himself. And the other person who hasn't written him off is the club. And Eric, they believe in him enough. Now, they could have sold a bill of goods to a team and told them if they didn't believe in him and pumped him up to another team and put him in one of these trades and gotten rid of him, but they kept him, And before this year, before all these troubles, he's been the subject of many trades. And so it's just one of the things where you hope that this kid comes around and actually does something good, because it would benefit the club if he were to do something great. It would benefit him. And so at the end of the day, Eric, we are in the dog days of summer in August. We are trouncing our way through the last week and a half or so of August going into September. And I think around early September, you're going to start seeing a lineup that's more congealed and more solid to what they're going to be giving teams when they get to the playoffs.
Yeah, and we had a scare this weekend with Yordan Alvarez, taking himself out of the game. I know there's a lot of talk about what led to him losing his breath or having shortness of breath or whatever, but he kind of took himself out of the game, and then he went to the hospital, and I think they put him on concussion protocol, even though he didn't have a concussion, but he returned to the lineup and he was fine. It's just something that they were a little worried about. So I'm glad that
Dusty said he was. Yeah, Dusty said he was slumped over at the bottom of the steps when he came in,
right.
And he didn't even realize he was there, because apparently after he made that throw, he just bolted to the sideline. And someone's like, well, how does Dusty not know he's in there? I'm like, well, he's clearly looking over towards the first base area or whatever. And then he comes out of his peripheral, he gets in there. And I guess what was scary was seeing the medical staff from the Braves dugout run over to the Astros. And what's good is that he was released that same night from the hospital, and he was short of breath. But anytime you hear shortness of breath, a player pulls himself out of a game, a guy that big, it just, to me, as a fan of sports, it makes you think of some of the horrible things you've seen where players have collapsed, where players have had heart issues. And that was just something I was really concerned about there until they kind of cleared it and said, okay, he's good. Especially seeing him in the dugout the next day was great. Seeing him at the plate today, swinging the bat, getting hits, scoring runs, is another huge step. Yordan Alvarez is absolutely pivotal. And Eric, Alex Bregman is the Alex Bregman that he was in 2019. Every bit of it. This guy's going to have some big hits. This guy's going to do 2017 type magic stuff in the playoffs this year. And I am so pumped to have him as our starting third baseman. I wouldn't have it any other way.
All right. Yeah. Alvarez, all the tests came back clear. Somebody was asking in chat. So, Pearland Little League, what's up with them, Brett?
Yeah, so Pearland Little League is actually facing off against the Great Lakes, okay, on Monday. If you're listening on Monday, it's tonight, and here is it's at 6 p.m. And I believe the games are on ESPN or ESPN2. Yeah, you can see Eric going around. Yes, Eric, we can still see you. Your name is literally on the show. Anyways, so Pearland Little League, we want to wish y'all all the best of luck. They won their first game 8-3 against Mid-Atlantic. And if they win that, they play the winner of they play the West. So Pearland plays West, and then the Southeast plays the Great Lakes. So they play the winner of the Great Lakes and Southwest, and Pearland plays the West, and they won their game 12-0. So the thing is, these two teams, Eric, are both high-scoring teams. To get here, they beat West Texas 19-0. So we want to wish Pearland Little League all the luck. That's why we're wearing the orange and the yellow. Tomorrow at school, we're wearing all orange, all yellow. I even have one orange Croc and one yellow Croc I'm wearing. My son's letting me borrow those for tomorrow. So I will be I will be dripped out, as the kids say, and supporting Pearland Little League. So, hey, that game's on at 6 o'clock. It's before our show. I know what I'll be doing before Locked On Astros tomorrow night because there's not a game. So 8:30, that's when you'll see us. Come join us again.
Well, I'm glad the Astros have off day because the bullpen, they need some rest. They've been used a lot, and the Astros are using the 6-man rotation to kind of keep the arms a little bit fresh, but by keeping the starters fresh, it's working. I mean, Verlander especially, he's having a career, not a career year, but he's having a bounce back year after Tommy John surgery, but it is hurting the bullpen a little bit. And I think Seth Martinez would be a welcome sight for the Astros, Hunter Brown at some point, maybe when rosters expand. But for right now, you got what you got, and you get what you get, and you can't throw a fit until the Astros do something about it. And that's all we got for this edition of the Locked On Astros podcast. My name is Eric Huysman. He is Brett H. Town Wheelhouse. We are the Locked On Astros podcast, and Go Astros.